Next up, Kelly Brown on the emotion of wine.
Kelly, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
Now, you've been in the wine industry for 25 years. That's like a quarter of a century.
I know. Don't remind me.
Sorry. You look great.
Thank you.
Is it the drinking?
Yes. Balance. It's all about balance.
Oh, okay. So listen, tell me a bit about the vineyard. Tell me about the life that you're leading right now.
Well, I have, like you said, been in the industry for a long, long time. I'm obviously an imported product. I come from the United States. I was sold the dream. I was actually working on a project down here in New Zealand. I was New York based at the time. And my husband now, John Belsham, is a winemaker. He founded Fox's Island 26 years ago, but he's been making wines for over 40 years now.
And he's quite prominent in the industry, isn't he?
Yeah, he's an interesting guy.
A legend.
He is a bit of a legend. It's amazing. You know, you think about where the wine industry was 35, 40 years ago in New Zealand and where it is today. It has come further ahead very, very quickly.
What has changed so much in the last few years?
Winemaking is a long game. It's not a short game. Mm-hmm. So things that we do in our vineyard today, we see the effects of that 5-6 years down the road, sometimes a decade. So you really do have to think about that.
That's quite interesting in today's society where, you know, we're kind of impatient about everything.
We are impatient.
You know?
We want everything now.
Yeah.
Just like me. I'm also impatient as well.
So literally, you bottle something and you wait. You know?
We do. We are really the only winery in New Zealand that cellar ages all of its single vineyard wines prior to release. We started that 26 years ago, so we've built up those cellars over time. So often our red wines are aged 5, 6, 7 years prior to release, which is a great benefit for the consumer.
Yeah. Actually, I would have to tell you, I know a couple of wines, I know what I like and
Sure.
wouldn't really know much about the rest.
Yes. Well, that's not uncommon, and I think that people should always think about wineries that they particularly like and trust those winemakers and explore within their regions, especially when they want to learn more. I'm a big believer that people should diversify their palate. They should try all kinds of things because you should there's such a beautiful world of wine out there to explore, just like food. So don't ever put yourself into one category.
How would you advise someone to choose a wine? I mean, obviously not by the picture on the label, which is a common way for other people, I imagine. How would you advise people to choose a wine?
Again, I always suggest people, often think about the quality. A lot of people think about the organic produce they're having, but they don't think 5 minutes about the quality of wine that they're putting in their body as well. And for me, I think it's really important that there's really good winemaking behind it. A lot of people's allergies to wines have a lot to do about the choices they're making, not actually the wine that they're doing.
That's a really good point because, it's very topical now to think about organic food and all that kind of stuff. Right. But, I'm sure people don't think about that with wine.
Not entirely, and I know it's difficult because it's not fully transparent. New Zealand is amazing in the sense that they really led the world on the sustainability program. So what's interesting is where in the United States, if you're certified sustainable, you're really fantastic and this leader. Whereas here in New Zealand, everybody's like, well, of course you're sustainable because it's required. However, there's everything you can do as a wine company that you can actually further those basic needs. So we take extra notches in everything we do. So we farm naturally and organically, not certified organic, but the reason is we really focus on the quality of our grapes, like the quality of our produce, just like a chef does. Yeah. So if you have a beautiful, fresh piece of fish coming in, you don't mess it up too much. Yeah. You really just do things to highlight it. And that's the same thing we do with winemaking. We really focus on the quality of the grapes so that when we come in to the winery, John gets to do his magic. Yeah. He's not trying to fix something.
And John's a bit of an innovator, isn't he?
He has. He's been really terrific on that forefront on multiple things. Like he said, it took him 5 years to learn how to make wine and then kind of 35 years to really make great wine, kind of unlearn what he learned, really. We do things like indigenous fermentations, which means the yeast that live in our vineyard make our wines. We're not buying boxes out of a lab. And that has a whole nother headspace. So some of the things that we do completely freak people out because it's natural. Yeah. Being able to, with 3 other people, lead the initiative for the screw cap here in New Zealand was really quite revolutionary. It took a very common product, like screw caps, you know, we used it in our preserving and our cans. It wasn't a new product, but adapting it to wine really changed that. And really for John, he said, once we understood the science, it was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did it.
Because initially screw cap was, you know, cheap wine had screw caps.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the irony, is that cheap wine had the best closures. Really, because you didn't have a corked bottle. A lot of people don't actually even know what a corked bottle tastes like. Yeah. So in the industry,
so that's a bottle where the cork ends up kind of contaminating.
Exactly.
Wine. Yeah.
So you work really, really diligently to make that wine perfect, and then you put it in a bottle and a closure that actually taints the wine.
Yeah. So how much of your time do you spend tasting?
A lot. It depends on what we're doing. When we're blending wines, it's a very different scenario. Blending wine is really, really tricky, and it takes a lot of time. John, obviously, that's his world, so he does all of that. I spend a lot more time tasting with consumers and talking to them and doing education and really walking them through what they're experiencing. Most consumers tell me that, you know, they're not very good tasters, and I don't believe that at all. So I really try and help give them a few building blocks that they can actually adapt to all parts of their life.
Yeah, and it uses a lot of your brain, doesn't it, wine tasting?
It does, actually. There's a new study out that actually shows that wine tasting is quite complex about everything that goes into it when you're tasting wine, and you're actually using more of your brain than solving a complex math problem.
Wow.
So there you go. It's healthy for you. It's good brain workout, brain food.
Well, that's a perfect reason to drink more wine.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.